The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly Podcast coming to you February 21st, 2023. How you guys doing? Scare's going fast already. We're right, what's at the end of the second month of 2023. Life goes fast. This year's going fast. Everything's going fast. Yeah. Anyway, as I sit up here in my studio, I'm actually going to try to do this in my studio. First time in my studio in a little bit. As you guys know, I've been kind of in a sort of hiatus from most of my podcasts. Not so much this one. I've been able to just get through this one for a little bit. Today actually recorded. If you guys don't know, I have a weekly basketball podcast I do on the Huddle Up Podcast Network. I record every Tuesday. It's a very short and sweet, 20-ish minutes a week episode, 5 takes in a week on the NBA. And I got back to that for the first time in a few weeks today. Felt good. Obviously, I'm not back to doing take 3 yet. It's probably going to be a little bit of time before I get back to that, as well as the Huddle Up Podcast, we just ended this live shows for the year. We actually on break anyway until March, and we'll see as March comes around how I feel. But you guys can follow me, obviously, the last couple weeks. I've been able to still do some shows here. I've been doing shows once a week. Just kind of keep this palette fresh and whatnot. You know, I can't stay away from this podcast medium. Sorry, I'm trying to get my slippers here. I'm sitting here on my studio floor. Oh, there it is. All right, get back over here. So, but it's been a really rough 3 weeks. We're recovering from my neck injury. As you guys know, I have a bulging disc in my neck. I'm actually began therapy for the last couple of weeks through a chiropractor, ice therapy, the decompression, the whole nine. Just trying to take care of things, change my lifestyle too in terms of how I eat, nutrition, definitely more water, which is definitely necessary. Really trying to take things, easy and trying to change the dynamic of how I live my life here. I'm not getting younger. I'm 42 years old, turning 43 in less than 3 months. So, but the last week has been rough. The last, I would say, 5 or 6 days have been rough. I was making progress prior. And in the middle of last week, I started to feel more pain in my back and my shoulder area. But again, the reason why my shoulder hurts is because it's a pinched nerve. It's the bulging disc that's pinching on my nerve, which goes through my hands, goes through my arms, shoulders of my arms, into my fingers actually. So right now my fingers, like my index finger, my middle finger, and a small portion of my thumb has a bit. It's not numb because I still feel it, thank God. But it does have a it's like a tingling feeling to it. You know what I mean? It's not fully functional either. So it's been rough, like I said. It's affected everything here at home. With the way I do things at home, how I sleep, how I eat. My interactions with my family especially has been impacted. Especially with my kids. I can't go out and play like I used to. I used to go out every day with my sons and throw a football around the field, and I'm been told I can't do that right now for the time while I heal. And it's funny because even though I'm a righty when it comes to throwing a football, and the injury is on my left side, it's still recommended I get rest and whatnot. I was even told that the amount of podcasts I do, not so much this show, but the other shows I do, which typically take an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time per episode, not recommend right now, because especially with those shows being on stream, being on video as well too, and it's a little bit professional me be on camera laying down and whatnot. It doesn't look really good. Plus, I can't keep my head up more than 30 minutes at a time. This is why this show is pushing boundaries to some degree. But I can control this because if I want to cut the show short, I will do that. So I'm hoping to get back into full-time podcasting again. Probably the earliest, honestly, is mid-March. This has impacted my day job too, especially. I had to take a step back in my day job and take another position for as long as I have this injury. It's a bit of a pay cut. So it's been stressful. It's put me in a little bit of slight depression too, especially the last few days. Luckily today I feel better about things. I spoke to my doctor. Things looking up. Obviously, he said just continue doing the right things. So what they're saying for me is that it won't be. I won't start feeling any significant changes in my body and relief until I am anywhere between 12 and 24 visits into my therapy. So I go 3 times a week to my chiropractor. I go every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Tuesday and Thursday I go there to do solely decompression and ice therapy. It takes about half an hour to 45 minutes. And then on Friday I do the same thing as well too. But in addition to that, I also see the doctor and they adjust me and they try to he doesn't give me any updates on what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, all that. So it's been good. But like I said, last week's been kind of rough. Some of the pain returned to my back again. I even tried, as you guys know, I deal poker for a living. I did a couple of tables that, even though I haven't dealt in a few weeks, I did open a couple tables on Friday and on Monday and yesterday rather, and it was kind of rough. Like it was painful because like even though when I pitch my cards in my right hand, I still use my left hand to collect the chips and do other things, and it's painful. As of right now, I'm actually having some discomfort right now as it is. So let me sit here real quick and lay back in a second here. Let me pull the mic off the stand real quick. I got that. Lay back here a little bit and just talk to you guys. Anyway, yeah, I was gonna do this podcast in my bedroom again, like I've been doing the last couple weeks, but I didn't feel like taking a computer out of the studio again. But it's been rough. It's been a little bit of setback the last week. It's had me a bit depressed, had me think what the future looks like. Do I got to change careers? If so, how can I make up the money? Have a family to feed. My wife has been an absolute godsend to this whole process. I thank God for her every day. She's been so there for me. And all this while still maintaining her work schedule and still being a mom to our 2 boys. Taking care of me and making sure I'm okay. It's stressing her out, obviously. All this is stressing her out. But I'm so thankful for her anyway. She's been such a blessing for me in this situation, and I really want this to be a thing in the past soon, so I can leave off pressure for her. Because it's not fair to her either to go through this. But today felt better. I did another session today. This is I believe my 7th session of decompression and ice therapy. I felt better today actually coming out of that. Hopefully, like I said, they say between 12 and 24 visits, so that would put me the end of next week is probably when I should start to feel some relief, and hopefully by then I would have a better idea if I can go back to dealing poker again, and if so, that'd be good because like I said, I'm taking a little bit of hit money wise here because of it, because of this situation, but hopefully I get back on the mend, and sooner rather than later, and again, thank guys if thanks to all everybody on social media and friends and family have been checking on me. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers, of course. It's not easy. I'm not dying. Obviously, I'm not, but it's still stressful. The anxiety of the situation too, especially is what gets to me. Especially is like because as the head of household, I want to be able to provide for my family and do the things I need to do. And when you have things that restrict me, I've never had a situation where I've been restricted like this before. Never. I hardly ever get sick. I hardly ever get, in my 43 years of living, I've hardly ever gotten sick. If I get sick, it's like a little cold here and algae attack here and whatnot, but I've never had like something that's restricted me from doing the things I need to do in my entire life, even as a child. This is new to me. This is something that's so new to me. So I'm just hoping that we get through this soon, this process. And like I said, try to continue. I mean, this podcast has been one thing I will say I've been able to. It's been even more so now. I need it. Like I was gonna take time off from doing the show, but there was no way if I can find a way to do the show. Even have to adjust how I did the recordings here. At least do this podcast because this podcast has been something of therapy, especially now. The last couple weeks, for me, And I'm just, like I said, I need this more than ever now, and hopefully this will become a thing of the past in the coming weeks. But again, like I said, I'm taking more vitamins out. How about this? How about this situation? I'll tell you also. I never thought I got this point in my life now. My wife and I, we bought a new pill tray for me. You know, those pill trays where you put Sunday through to Saturday and you put pills in there. I've never had one before until now. Granted, it's not pills for like, I'm not taking pills for, like Tylenol and ibuprofen, because I hate taking tablets. I hate taking pills. These are pills for vitamins, for fish oil, for vitamin C, vitamin D, things of that nature, magnesium. So like I said, when I tell you things have been changing in this household for me in the last month or so, this is what I'm talking about. Like, we're really stressing now to get healthier, to change things up a little bit, up the water, lessen the junk, work on posture. That's one of the big things here. Because I got this injury mainly because of, not just because of my job, but also because of posture, and because I'm on my phone a lot, and all these other things. And I need to, those are the things I need to adjust. And it takes 43 years of living, to adjust in a few weeks. Like I said, not re-injured, but when I had to setback last week was because I slept my shoulder again. And even last night I did that again. I just unconsciously, it was on my left shoulder and felt sore. I had ice this morning and all that, but, it's just, you guys heard, right, 12 minutes of my ranting on this. I guess I'm going to call it a monologue, I'm going to call that. But, again, guys, thanks, thoughts and prayers for this process. When I am working through this, and hopefully, like I say, a month from now, it should be a thing in the past. So, all right, let's get to some of the topics here on the podcast, on the show notes here. You can check it out, of course, on the podcast feed here. NBA All-Star Game has come and gone. I didn't even watch it. I didn't even watch the All-Star Game. And honestly, it's unwatchable. But I think where I get a little more, not upset, but annoyed, is people complain about the All-Star Game. I get people's issues with it. I mean, guys, it's an exhibition game. Like, relax, okay? It's an exhibition game. Don't need to get all pissy and moaning about, they're playing for me. You don't have to watch it. And you're talking to a guy who is a diehard NBA fan, my favorite league in this entire country, more than NFL, more than Major League Baseball. I'm an NBA diehard. But I come to the point in my life now where I don't watch pretty much in any sport. I mean, maybe baseball's my only one I probably enjoy somewhat. But I don't watch any of these league all-star games anymore. I certainly don't watch a Pro Bowl. I don't watch. I rarely watch Major League Baseball All-Star Game in July, and the NBA's now become that for me. I haven't watched All-Star Game honestly in about 10 years. I really haven't, and I don't really miss it. And there's really no way to fix this. Honestly, like, the way you can fix this All-Star Game is implement things that I don't want. Like, one idea I've heard broached in the past was, making it where the winner, they don't do East-West anymore. The conference that wins the All-Star Game gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. I hate that idea because they did that shit for the All-Star Game in Major League Baseball years ago, and it sucked. How you gonna have a 103 win team in one league not have home field advantage over a team that won 87 games, a wild card team, and gets hot? That's not fair. That's not fair at all. So same thing with the NBA. Why would you have a 60-win team be on the road, but because his conference lost the All-Star Game, they got to play less games at home? Because, I'm good on that. The team that has the most wins, in the season, who earned it the regular season and earned the seeding and earned the right to get to the playoffs, should have the right to have the most home games in that series. In discussion. So find other things to fix the All-Star Game. Maybe the NBA players should make it more, maybe increase the prize pool. Maybe, I don't know. It's really something you can't fix. It has to be something that the players I honestly want to play. But there's no way going to fix this. I mean, unless the ratings go down, I don't know. There's no way to fix this thing. But let's not take this seriously. So anyway, what else we have here? So NBA season resumes Thursday. So we got a couple things to touch on here before we restart the season. Well, not restart, but we continue the season rather. We're about 20-ish games to go, 23, 22 games, depending on who your team is. 20-ish games to go before the playoffs. Couple things here. LeBron James says that these next 23 games for the Lakers are the most important of his career. While that may be true, I don't necessarily agree with him. I think what he said there has nothing to do with him at all in his career. I think what he said there has everything to do with Anthony Davis. I think that what he said there is a message to Anthony Davis to get his shit together, stop getting hurt, stay healthy. Because when the Lakers are healthy, when AD and LeBron are healthy, I'll say it again, when those two guys are healthy, they are two of the 5 best players in basketball. Okay, AD, like I said, this is who he is. He is always hurt, always. And to me, you know, they made a trade. They got Russell Westbrook out of there. Okay, fine. They got D'Angelo Russell. Okay, they've added some good pieces now surrounding these guys. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, although they're only 3.5 games out of the 6th seed. Right now, the 13th seed, but the 3.5 games out of the 6th seed, with 23 games to go. So, in my opinion, they got to go to these 17-6 to have a legitimate shot to avoid the play-in, if they can even do it. And that's also assuming that teams ahead of them between 6 and 13 are going to tank or going to fall apart. But I think that message was sent. That whole spiel by LeBron was a message sent to Anthony Davis, honestly, to get his shit together. We'll see how that goes. Because that's one of probably the most intriguing story of the second. I won't say second half of the year, but post All-Star break pennant, if you want to call it, down the stretch here. As you guys know, Russell Westbrook, we mentioned he's no longer a Laker, but he's still in LA. He got the buyout in Utah. He's now with the Clippers. I think it's a good move for the Clippers. I don't know if it necessarily makes them a championship team. I don't think it makes them worse. I think at worst it makes them marginally better. You still got to make sure Kawhi Leonard's healthy. Paul George does not turn back into a playoff P or non-playoff P if you want to go that route. But the Clippers, I've been playing good basketball since January. Ty Lue is arguably one of the 3 best coaches in basketball. So they have the roster to do it. They have the players to do it. You add Russ. If Russ can fall in line and not disrupt the flow and just contribute when necessary and just be a positive influence in that team could be a problem. That team could be a problem. Because obviously we saw with Kevin Durant going to Phoenix that whole thing that it's changed the dynamic in the Western Conference now. So we'll see how that plays out. Also, another buyout situation. Kevin Love bought up by the Cavaliers, signed the Miami Heat. Again, I'm a Heat fan, so it impacts me personally. I think this is a good move for the Heat. I got a 4 spacer. He's pretty good. He has playoff experience. Again, a guy this is probably going to marginally help the team. I don't know if this puts them in the ilk of Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Philly. In fact, I'll go ahead and say that right now. I don't think it does at all. They got to prove it to me otherwise. I'm not even sure. I'm not convinced they're as good as Cleveland right now, even with this move. But we have 20-ish games to go to see this. It's not going to hurt. And as I said, for weeks on end, that my attitude with the Heat at this point was, I don't give a shit who they sign. You can sign Russell Westbrook. You can sign Kevin Love. I don't care. Do something. Throw something at the window. Throw something at the wall. Because at this point, this team was not going anywhere this team was not going anywhere currently constructed. Because even if Westbrook was going to sign and it failed, fine. Who gives a shit? Guess what? He's gone in July anyway. Okay? He ain't costing you shit. It's a low risk, high reward. Same with Kevin Love. Okay? Just throw something at the wall. See it works. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, okay, fine. It didn't hurt you much anyway. Okay? I will say Kevin Love does not make them worse. Let's just say that. He at least marginally improves the team. Let's see if now Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo can take it to another level. Tyler Hero, another level. Maybe those bench players to another level. Maybe Kyle Lowry got off his ass. How about Kyle Lowry got off his fat ass and actually do something for once? The guy's getting paid $30 million a year. Okay? And I warned you guys about this 2 years ago. I would rather get Goran Dragic on a cheaper deal than sign Kyle Lowry. Not because I don't like Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is a fantastic player. Borderline Hall of Famer, probably. But Kyle Lowry also at $30 million a year, that's a Pat Riley strike right there. Hate to break it to you. Let's see here. We got Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. Make some news a couple days ago. They believe that you need to win an NBA title to enter the Hall of Fame. Here's some quotes here from KG first. Okay? He says, quote, been in the Hall of Fame and then being here with the championship is solidified. That's 360 to me. Not to say it or disown anybody else in here, but I feel they go together. These are arguably the best players ever touched the rock. And to be in here, to be considered one of them, winning with the championship is icing on the cake. Paul Pierce, his teammate in Boston, backed him up and said this: I'm not even sure I want to be in the Hall of Fame without one of these. We're talking about the best of the best in accomplishment, the highest accomplishment you can accomplish as a team. Like, I feel that this should be the entry. You can't come here without one of these. That's just my opinion. With all due respect to those two guys, and I hate the Celtics, but I respect the shit out of KG. Paul Pierce, Paul, I was a great player, Hall of Famer. I'm not gonna, knock him there. But these are stupid statements. It's dumb. So you're gonna tell me that despite the fact that Karl Malone won 38,000, has scored 36,000 points in his career, third most in NBA history, no NBA titles, along with John Stockton, is not deserving to be in the Hall of Fame? That's ridiculous. Charles Barkley was one of the 25 best players of all time. Elgin Baylor never won a title. You serious? See, it's that mindset. And KG and Paul Pierce, by that logic, to his credit, he did say that I shouldn't get in if I didn't win a title. He didn't want to win a title if he didn't get KG and Ray Allen in 08. I think that logic is as flawed. Because I think, and it's kind of where we are as a culture, where like, no matter what you do, if you don't win titles, you suck. And everything is so binary now in when it comes to sport and in life in general, but especially in sports, where like either you win a title or you're just terrible. I can't accept that. I think that's trash. I'm not saying that. I'm not even the guy that's saying, "Oh, well, give him a participation trophy." Da 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 da. I'm not even going there with that. But you can't come to me and say, "Oh, well, Charles Barkley's trash because he didn't win a title." Dan Marino's trash because he won a Super Bowl. Dan Marino's one of the most talented quarterbacks in history of football. You gonna tell he's not deserving the Hall of Fame? Jim Kelly also too. Come on, Fran Tarkenton in football. There's so many great players in sports that just couldn't get there, or they got there to the promised land and then just couldn't quite win a title. And you say they don't deserve that? I'm sorry. I think these takes are shitty. These are shitty takes. I mean, look, it's their opinion, and I respect them for saying it, but I think it's shitty takes, honestly. It's just shitty. So, that's where I'm at on that. Anyway, some NFL talk here. Eric Bienemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, has signed with the Washington Commanders. Eric Bienemy, of course, last couple of years has been one of the most, not targeted, but in terms of the narratives when it comes to coaches who has done a fantastic job on the field, not getting jobs. This is a guy that is arguably the best offensive coordinator in football, and yet for some reason he gets interviews or lack interviews and then doesn't get hired anywhere. And that's obviously been a narrative. Like, Bienemy is obviously a black man, so there's a lot of racial components to as well. Although I think that's kind of cheap and easy. I think that you can argue some of the race could be race, but here's what I'll say about this, and this is why I think the move to Washington makes sense. People say, well, why would you go to Washington? Why would you leave Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes for Dan Snyder and the Commanders and that shit team and shit franchise? I think the reason that happens is because I believe, first off, Ron Rivera's on the hot seat next year. Okay, I think barring a magnificent start to the season next year, I think he's done after this next season, if not mid-season, in Washington. Okay. Bienemy, obviously, from what I've heard, this is a pay raise. This is also an upgrade in title. He's actually the assistant head coach behind Rivera. So obviously, if Rivera would get fired, Bienemy will be the head coach, most likely be the head coach of this team moving forward. You say Daniel Snyder, well, fine, but why would you work for Daniel Snyder? I'm here to tell you, folks, I don't think Daniel Snyder will be the head coach of this team, will be the owner of this team much longer. There's been way too much fire. He's already been putting feelers out for potential sales and all that. I think there's good money to I'm not going to sit there and say this is guaranteed, but if I had to put money on this, I think Daniel Snyder won't be the owner of this team more than a year. I think when we come back to this podcast and this time next year, I almost feel confident he will not be the owner of this team. There's way too much smoke around him at this point. Way too much allegations of stuff. That this team has just been a mess. I think once you get a new ownership in there, I mean, we assume it'd be a good ownership team, or whoever it is, whether it's Jeff Bezos or whoever it may be. I think anything would be better than Mr. Daniel Snyder. And I think Bienemy positioned himself now to being, in a good spot here. And we'll see. But that's why I think it makes sense. Because I think he will be the head coach of this team in the very near future. I think Ron Rivera's days in Washington are numbered. That's what I truly believe. Yeah, you leave. And I think also, too, it's the reality as well. It's like Andy Reid ain't retiring for a while. Andy Reid is going to be around for a little bit longer. And the longer Andy Reid's there, it hurts Bienemy's chances of getting, I think Bienemy, honestly, Eric Bienemy, honestly, did crave that, or the possibility of getting that job, of getting that head coaching job in Kansas City. If Andy Reid were to retire for some reason, would be health or family issues, which it's been well public the last couple of years now, but his kids getting arrested and all that. I think there was a possibility Bienemy would have gotten that job in Kansas City. But obviously, with Andy Reid winning the second Super Bowl in a couple of years, and looks like he's not going to be retiring for a little while, and there aren't many opportunities out there left. And I think this situation too, especially, this could be a clean situation for Bienemy, assuming it goes the way I think it's going to go. It makes sense. Again, I do understand the racial component with this as well, but I do think this is not as bad a decision as people make it out to me. Just my opinion. All right, the New York Giants and Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is fired his agent and has a new agent now. And supposedly Daniel Jones wants a new deal in upward of $45 million a year. Let's get into this real quick because I'm a Giants fan, obviously, and this is obviously another thing that impacts me personally because of the team I root for. Let me say this real quick. I think Daniel Jones did a solid job last year. Okay, it wasn't great. Didn't turn the world on fire and didn't have these great stats. But I thought Daniel Jones actually played decent last year, considering the circumstances. He even won a playoff game last year. Okay, so this year was a really good bounce back year for Jones and the Giants. Bravo. But let's also start here, and let's also be realistic too. Also, the New York Giants would be fucking idiots. It'd be stupid. It'd be idiotic for this team to pay him that kind of money in a year that, okay, he was decent. No. And I say that someone that's rooting for the guy. Okay? I'm not against him not being here in the future, being a quarterback for the future. You see the talent there. You see the talent. He's mobile. He throws the rock pretty well. The team has gotten a little bit better, marginally better, around him talent-wise. Still work to do, of course. But to pay him $45 million a year? Woo! No. In that case, I'd rather have Jimmy G on cheap. And then draft someone. Nah, I'm good on that one. Personally, the play here will be to the team to franchise him, honestly. Look, if you're going to pay the guy $35 million a year, I can work with that. That's the market. And I'm not even hating the guy because, look, this is the market. The market's talking here. The market says that quarterbacks, especially his age and his talent, are going to command about that kind of money, $40 million. Even though it's not right, even though that he's not as good as what that number seems, that's just the reality. This is, as I said, this is like real estate. The market resets and sets itself depending on players. Deshaun Watson inflated the market, of course, And if the Giants don't pay him this money, I can't say for certain that there's not a team out there that wouldn't at least consider it, that has a big pocketbook. And my fear is the Giants are gonna feel compelled to pay him because they don't want to lose him, and to say, well, fuck it, we'll pay him, and hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully sustains and he's good in a playoff team with him at quarterback. But that's a lot of money for a guy that's barely improved. That's a lot of money. This guy he wasn't great against Philly this year at all. The 2 games against the Eagles this year, the team won the Super Bowl. He was terrible in the game against them in was it week 13, week 14, and then the playoff game. He didn't play the game. The game that the Giants actually almost had a chance of winning in week 18, he didn't play that game. The playoff game was fucking terrible. So, what are we doing here? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't pay that kind of money yet. If anything, let him go. If he really feels like he can get that kind of money on the market, then so be it. Let him go see if there's a team that'll bite on that. I highly doubt that, but again, it only takes one team to set the market. That's the scary part. That's the scary part. Let him go up there so we can get out there and see the Giants come back with a counteroffer. Anyway, all right. I have been obsessed with budgeting lately. I told you guys last year that we had a rough year financially because with inflation and then my rent here, my place, I love so much. Our rent jumped up a lot of money, $400 last year. There was a lot of adjusting to do, financially speaking, on a whim and quickly. So we are actually in a good place now. Although obviously with my neck injury, I had to take a step back. So financially, it's hit me a little bit. But this last couple months, especially too, I've been really obsessed with budgeting in the house, like really making sure that we have our ducks in a row. I said, I'm not getting younger. I got kids. We got vacations we want to go on. We got things we want to do. We got things we to save for. I got my brother's wedding I have to go to at the end of the year. I got to save for. So much things I got to do. So it's forced me to really value every dollar I spend in this household. And I budget, like, I almost annoy my wife with this crap now. I budget like crazy. I budget to the very dollar now. Because you have to. In this economy, especially, too, you got to be responsible. Especially if you have a family of 4. You're responsible. Because there's always things that come up. There's school fees and this and that, and they got kids that do this, and maybe a thing comes up here, and my wife once in a while goes on a girl trip every few months, and they go to Disney, and all these things. See, I'm the one person in the family of the 4 that I don't need anything. I'll work. I'll stay home. Just feed me. I don't need shit. Because all my hobbies are things I do in my house. This podcast, for example, doesn't cost me shit. It's already built in my budget. I don't need to extra things out. I'm happy with my family. I'm happy to be home with my family all the time. I could go anywhere. But I've been really obsessed with budgeting. And I guess for me, as someone who hated math growing up, but I do work. That's what I do for my living now. I actually do math for a living now. It's actually, I got hiccups now. It's kind of ironic that I become a obsessed budgeter. It's kind of ironic. All right, switching gears now. Switching gears to the next thing here. We are officially on the road to WrestleMania. I'm not gonna do a. I had planned on doing this actually on Sunday, but I couldn't get any time to do this. But a recap on Elimination Chamber on Saturday. This saying that again, that card was very predictable. Asuka winning the Women's Chamber to face Bianca at WrestleMania. That's not surprise there. And then, who was that one? The male. Austin Theory retained the U.S. title, winning the Men's Chamber. No surprise there. What else happened in that show? Roman beating Sammy, but like I said, no one thought Sammy would win that. Unless it was by DQ. No surprises there, but it was just the execution of things that happened. Still a good show altogether. WrestleMania time is pretty fun. I tend to, especially now, but this is like kind of this is kind of the playoff time for wrestling. Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, it's kind of the playoffs, and then WrestleMania is the Super Bowl. And so what I do a lot of times during this time of year, I do deep dives on on Peacock and on watch like old WrestleManias all the time, or watch old. Well, right now what I'm doing actually, and like I said a couple weeks on the podcast that I didn't finish it last year. I did a Royal Rumble. I did a binge on all the Royal Rumbles, but not the entire show, just the Rumbles itself. I'm actually finally making headway. I'm actually on the 2006 Rumble right now. I've never watched it. So right now I'm in an era where I've not watched any of these Rumbles before. I've never watched any Rumble prior to like this weekend. I've never watched anything from 2003 or 4 through 2019 in terms of Rumbles. So I'm making headway now and watching Rumbles that I never watched before in my life. It's been pretty fun, actually. Been pretty fun. So the binge continues. Hopefully be done. Especially now, especially me also not being able to do extra stuff and being home a lot and resting at home a lot. I found the time. I think I watched like 3 or 4 of the Rumbles alone on Sunday by not doing a damn thing on Sunday. Just relax on the couch because I need to do my therapy, my ass therapy, and just sit on the couch and does not move my neck much. So anyway, what else on the docket? We get out of here. A couple more things I want to touch on. Did you guys see the Rihanna cover on Vogue? Obviously, Rihanna's in the news a lot now because she did the Super Bowl halftime show a couple days ago last week rather, and whatnot. So the picture of her on the cover, it's her on the beach holding hands, but in front of her boyfriend, A$AP Rocky, they have a kid together, another one on the way. A lot of people in their feelings about this though, because apparently they say that this picture demasculates him, which now in turn makes it okay or makes it like this is how we view men or black men now, as allowing women to demasculate them. And there's a lot of people I respect that are having this kind of opinion too, and it's like, why are you so triggered by something like this? Like sometimes I think people find things to be triggered by, just to bitch. It's annoying. I think they're making this a bigger deal. Like, why couldn't women lead? Why? First off, let's be real here. Especially in my case, being a married man, a marriage is a partnership. Okay? In my house, it's 50-50. Yes, am I the man of the house? She says I am. She respects what I bring to the table, and I her as well too, to her as well. I do dishes. She does. I do laundry. There are things that I can't do. Like, she's actually more. Fun fact here, my wife is more handy than I am. My wife's a fucking. She's amazing. Okay, and why is this an ego thing? Why can't it be a partnership? Why can't it be like, okay, well, if first off, the way I see this is this: Rihanna is a bigger star than A$AP Rocky. I had no clue who A$AP Rocky was till like probably a year ago. So let's start there. Rihanna is a bigger star. Rihanna is one of the biggest stars in the world right now. Well, has been for about 2 decades now. So why are we even having this conversation? Why are we looking more into a situation than it needs to be? That's what gets me. And you got black men, black men out there saying, "Oh well, what the fuck? It's not the way it should be. You should be the man in front." Really? Are you really that soft that you see a picture of Rihanna holding hands but in front of her boyfriend, okay, and that triggers you? I even saw Jason Whitlock's a clown, but even him react to this thing too. I'm like, stop. Like, you're making it more than it needs to be. Stop. Okay? It's a partnership, dude. It's a partnership. Embrace it. It's good. I mean, why would you want... I love the fact that I have a wife that can fix things sometimes and they can do this and that. Does men have to be handy? Is that something in the rule book? We need to kind of break some of these generational curses and these Stone Age ideas that are men have to do this. Men do what? According to whose rules? According to whose rules? We need to break some of these things. I'm not even saying that men shouldn't be tough and this and that. There's a place for that too. But to make this picture of Rihanna a thing to get triggered by, like, stop, please. Just saying. I'll tell you, I'll tell a guy I can't stand though, and I'm sorry, I've been saying this for years, and he proves me right every time. CNN's Don Lemon. Can't stand him. I can't stand him. Look, he actually at one point was a good journalist. One point. He actually is pretty good when he does. I just hate his content. I hate how he acts. He was not suspended, he was on leave from CNN because of comments he made about another example of a guy getting his feelings. When Nikki Haley, I announced last week, Nikki Haley announced she was running for president, and she was talking about something about her being her peak, and they need talking about we need younger politicians and this and that. She's only 51, 52 years old, And then Don Lemon made a comment that, like, first off, if you're in your peak, first off, women in their peak in their 20s, 30s, and maybe 40s. Now, his new show on CNN has 2 female co-hosts. And they took a little bit of offense to that. It was a dumb comment. I'm not saying he should get fired for that comment, but he's a moron for saying what he said. But he's made some really dumb comments in general through the years as well too. He comes off very snobby. I can't stand that. Like he just says things, and I'm sure he's just pissed off that he lost his night gig on CNN. And he has to do his day show, which he probably hates doing it. I don't know. He's just smug as hell. I just never liked him, and these things that come out now, and you see these things he says, it proves me right every fucking time. I can't stand Don Lemon. I'm sorry, just can't stand him. That's why even people on the right, when they give him shit, like that's the you do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do, man, because that ain't my boy. Ain't my boy. So, rest in power to Tim McCarver, longtime baseball color commentator, also longtime New York Mets commentator, who passed away at the age of 81 last week, over the weekend rather. Tim McCarver, for all you may hate him. A lot of people didn't like him because he was the way he said things he said on on the broadcast. I thought the guy was fantastic. I loved listening to him. I talk about through the years about commentators I like throughout the years. Pat Summeralls and all those guys, John Madden, you name it, and things. I love broadcast guys. Tim McCarver is probably my favorite baseball guy of all time. Probably, he was great, and in fact, was also a Mets commentator for a long time too. It makes it even better for me. I had. Like I said, I thought he was. I mean, the thing with him and Deion Sanders back in the day, obviously, was kind of weird. But when it came to on the field, when it came to like broadcasting games, broadcasting the World Series on Fox 30 years, he was awesome. He was direct, told like it is, and that was it. And I love that about him. So, rest in power, rest in peace to Tim McCarver, truly one of the all-time greats. Finally, if we get out of here, last thing here, a little somber thing here. President Jimmy Carter, has announced that he is opting for hospice care as opposed to doing more tests. Jimmy Carter is 98 years old. He was actually also, I think, a 40th. He was actually a 39th president of the United States, I believe. 39th president before Reagan. I can't even say Carter was polarizing because he was I guess a little polarizing, you want to call it that. One-term president. A lot of people don't look at his one term fondly because the country was in upheaval, inflation, the Iran conflict, all that. But Jimmy Carter was a good man. That's one thing I will say. For all the talk about political speaking, you may not like his politics and all that. Jimmy Carter was a good man. Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter's real impact, in my opinion, was things he did after his presidency. All the charities and the homes he built, and he was very philanthropic. And I think those are the things when I look at Jimmy Carter, I look at that more than his presidency. He was a good man. He is a good man. He's still alive with us. He is 98 years old. Obviously, there's been some health challenges in recent years. So we'll see. I don't know if he's at a point now where he's on the verge of passing. I don't know. But remember maybe, he's a great man. And he's someone that should be honored in spite of whether political things you may like or dislike from him. Jimmy Carter is a good man. He's a good man. And that's where we'll leave this podcast today on, again, February 21st, 23 rather. Again, I'm on Twitter at EJChristian7. Earthly Podcast across all podcast catchers. We'll probably do all these on Thursday. We'll see. Check out the Tuesday, Thursday schedule. We'll see what happens there. Also, a quick shout out to my best friend Alex, who his birthday is actually tomorrow. So, shout out to my boy Alex. Love you, man. Until then, we'll talk soon. Also, my mom was out in Trinidad right now, partying and at Carnival. Stay safe, Mom. I love you. We will talk soon. Enjoy the podcast. Enjoy the rest of the week. We'll be back on Thursday, hopefully. See ya.